Congress tried to give itself an $8,000 pay increase in the middle of budget negotiations, in the middle of a potential government shutdown. One of the agendas was potentially giving itself a pay increase. Now, of course, it's a little more complicated than that. So what I want to do today is give you the facts and then let you make your own decision as to whether this is okay or not. Okay, let's talk about it. As always, my name is Derek and I got my degree in finance, so you don't have to. Now, a couple days ago, we narrowly avoided a government shutdown, as you may already know. Now, during that government shutdown, you had Democrats and you had Republicans. Remember, each one, the Senate is controlled by Democrats and Congress is controlled by Republicans. And of course, they bicker and they fight and they cannot agree on what things should go into the budget. Now, what's interesting is that when the initial bill was drafted in Congress, one of the line items that was left out was a pay freeze. Now, here's the thing you have to understand. Since 2009, Congress pay has been frozen at $174,000. So that's close to 15 years of the same pay. Now, there is this thing known as an inflation or cost of living adjustment, right? That's the same reason why people push for minimum wage to go up. That's the same reason why wages in general need to go up, is because cost of living does tend to increase over time. So since 2009, there has not been a cost of living adjustment for our leaders. Now, the interesting thing, and I guess the thing that kind of irks people or kind of rubs people the wrong way, is that during a financial crisis, or what could have been a financial crisis, because a government shutdown does directly affect the economy, not to mention that we are having a financial crisis in this country in general when it comes to real estate, when it comes to inflation, and when it comes to general affordability. During a pivotal moment when the budget for 2024 is being negotiated and when they're right at the line of whether they're going to cause a government shutdown or not, one of the line items that has been part of our budget for over the last 14 years is a pay freeze, and that was left out at first. Now, there was argument, and initially it was corrected. But it's interesting that they tried to almost sneak this in there, or at least it felt like it was attempted to be snuck in there instead of just being talked about in the open. And I guess the reason is because when you have Congress and Senate making well over the average salary in the United States at a time where the average American has a hard time affording regular life, it might seem a little brash. So I guess here's the big question. On one side, since 2009, prices of everything has increased. That is a very well-known fact. So is it fair for Congress and Senate to have their pay frozen, or should they be allowed to have a cost of living adjustment? So at this point, it would have been about an $8,000 increase in pay, when if you think about the average salary, that's almost a 20% increase of the average salary. Now, when you take into account their salary, which is $174,000, it's about a 4.7% increase. So I guess the question comes down to, should Congress be paid so highly to begin with, right? Because this is supposed to be a voluntary position, right? And not only that, should they be the ones who are allowed to vote on their own pay increases? Because they do hold their own pay increases in their hands. On top of that, the other very interesting thing is that if we would have had a government shutdown, which we narrowly avoided, but remember, this bill that was passed is only for 45 days of spending. So you can bet your bottom dollar that in about 30 days to 45 days, we are most likely going to have this whole scenario play out again with bickering and moaning and them trying to figure out a budget, because that tends to be what Congress does. I'm not here to be political. I'm just saying in this current system that we have, there tends to be a lot of bickering because the sides cannot agree on what is essential. And we have an overspending problem in this country. But back to my point. Something you may or may not know is that during a government shutdown, which we've had multiple of them in the past, the most recent one was 2018 moving into 2019, and it was the longest one as well. During a government shutdown, the non-essential workforce is basically, well, the non-essential work is basically ceased. And then all government employees, or a large portion of government employees, can either be furloughed or can continue to work without pay until the government shutdown is solved. But our leaders, Congress, does not fall under that. So Congress is, and the reason is because Congress, the pay for Congress does not have to be negotiated on a year-to-year basis like the rest of the funding does. So when regular Americans are out of pay during a government shutdown, Congress continues to be paid. And on top of that, in this most recent almost shutdown where we narrowly avoided it, Congress was trying to sneak in, at least that's what it felt, a pay increase. So the question becomes, is Congress paid too high? Should Congress be paid at all? Which I think most of us would agree that they should. Should Congress be paid more than just a token salary, considering that this is supposed to be elected work, right? That is supposed to, it's not, politicians were not meant to be a career choice. It was meant to be civil duty that Americans perform for their country, but it has become something else. So should they be paid such a high salary? Now, there's another point of contention here, and that is a lot of people say that the salary that Congress receives is a token salary already, because a lot of these individuals are very wealthy as it is without their congressional pay. That may be the case, but here's the thing. If it was truly just a token salary and nobody cared about $174,000 extra dollars every single year, then it would not be an issue. But it is an issue. Congressional pay is an issue. So it is not just a token salary. And yes, most of these people are wealthy, but $174,000 is still $174,000. And nobody is going to turn that down or say no. And some of these people, while they are wealthy, they are not billionaires or even 100 millionaires. They may have a few $1 million, but $174,000 is still a real portion of money for a lot of these people. So when government bickers, fights, and moans and cannot agree on a budget to fund the United States of America, should they be paid? Because currently they are. In a government shutdown, they are. They go to work, they try to figure it out, and they are paid, while a lot of other workers may not be, or may be furloughed, period. Should that be the case? Secondly, should a cost of living, if they are going to be paid, which I believe personally, I do think that any work should be paid, especially high stress work like that. But should there be a continued pay freeze, or should they be allowed to have a cost of living adjustment? Pay has been frozen since 2009. That's 14 years ago, almost 15 years ago. Should that be allowed, or should there be a cost of living adjustment? I do not necessarily know if there is a right or wrong answer, so I want you to let me know your opinions in the comments. Now, as I always say, I am not God. I'm just here to provide the information. I can be very wrong. I do not have a chip on my shoulder. So if you have a different opinion, or if you want to bring something to the table, please feel free to do so in the comments. But I guess what I'm trying to say with all this is government is paid during a government shutdown. Government wants a pay increase when the average American does not make nearly a third of what they are making already. Should this be the case? And on top of all that, when we have an overspending problem in the United States, when we have a very serious overspending problem that is leading to an increase and an increase and an increase in the deficit and the debt, the United States debt. When you look at Congress, these are people who are the leaders of the country, who make decisions on where that money goes. When we have such an overspending problem, should pay increases even be on the table? I don't know. All I know is that these are our leaders. Whether you are a Democrat or a Republican, these are our leaders. They lead the country, they make decisions on the country, and while we look to the president, a lot of the times it is Congress and Senate who make real decisions for the nation. So we need to hold them accountable. We need to understand that while they are the ones making the decision, we are the ones electing them. So when we bitch and moan that these people do what we want or don't, we have to remember, we the people are the ones electing them. Okay? So it is on us to create a better America and a more sustainable America, because right now we have a debt problem and we have an overspending problem. I think that is as clear as day. I don't think that it can be negotiated. Now, there are some sides that want more spending and some sides that want less spending. The problem is when you spend more, you have to find a hole to plug that. But at the same time, the other side who wants to spend less, usually Republicans, also want to lower taxes. So if you spend less but lower taxes, you might end up in the same situation anyway. So there needs to be a reasonable way to push this country forward and to get our spending under control. And I think at least the main point that we should start with is wasteful spending, because there is a lot of wasteful spending in this country. Again, I do not want this to be a political channel at all. I want this to be an economic and personal finance channel. That is what I love here. That is what I care about here. The thing is, when we look at global economics or national economics on a nation's scale, a lot of times politics has to be part of the conversation, because politics influences the economy highly. So I want to know your thoughts in the comments. Let me know if there should be pay increases for cost of living. Let me know if you believe that they should be paid $174,000 to begin with. Let me know if you think that it is a token salary or not. And let me know just your thoughts in general. As always, my name is Derek, and I got my degree in finance, so you don't have to. I love this stuff. I love economics. It's been my passion for over a decade, and I love being able to share that with you guys, and I love to be able to hear your thoughts. So if you haven't already, please consider subscribing. It helps the channel a lot. This is a relatively new YouTube channel, and it's something that I am passionate about and I want to continue doing. So if you haven't subscribed, please do so. And don't forget to turn on the bell notifications so you don't miss the next video. Videos come out on Tuesdays and sometimes Wednesdays or Thursdays or Fridays if there's some major event that needs to be talked about. I try my best to do things a little bit differently here, and I just want to have a conversation with you. There's plenty of super edited content on the internet that's clipped and cut with graphics and loud music. That's not what I want to do here. I want to keep it professional. I want to keep it intelligent. I want to keep it adult, and I want you guys to have a real discussion and to be able to get something from these videos. So I hope I do that. With that said, I will cuss here and there. It's who I am. I'm going to give you the real version of myself, but I want to just keep this professional and on a different level than what's going on YouTube already. There's plenty of catchy, in-your-face type content. Let's keep it more mellow here, and let's keep it more professional, and let's try to teach each other something. Because while I've been doing this for a long time, and I do love this stuff, and I consider myself someone who enjoys to research these things, I can always learn something from you guys. So if you have a different opinion, or if you have something that you want to add, please do so in the comments. And I will see you in the next video. Take care, everyone. Peace.